Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Harnoor this side, and what we are gonna do today is, as I promised, I would be discussing all the types of task 1. So we are gonna discuss about the first type of task 1, that is bar chart or line graph. These are one of the same thing. We have to write similarly. So you are able to see the graph on your screen, the graphical representation. What is on the x-axis is the name of countries, and what is on the y-axis is the number of hours. Number of hours that are spent by teachers teaching in three types of schools: primary, lower secondary and upper secondary. Primary is denoted by yellow, lower secondary by blue and upper secondary by red. The four countries are Japan, Spain, Iceland and USA. Let me read the statement very properly for you. The statement says, the bar charts below show the number of hours each teacher spent teaching in different schools in four distinct countries in the year 2001. So the year is given, that is 2001. So firstly, we are going to write introduction, then BP1. BP means body paragraph. Body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2 and then the overall. Conclusion is in task 2 and overall is in task 1. So don't confuse between the two. So how are we going to begin it? Firstly, we are going to paraphrase it. How to paraphrase now? The statement says the bar charts. How to write bar charts? We can write bar graph, or we can write the graphical representation, or the graph simply. So I have written the bar graph depicts. Here is the bar graph below show. You can write the rendered bar graph. The word rendered means given. The rendered bar graph depict the working hours. Here it is written number of hours each teacher spent teaching. Now I have written working hours of teachers. Working hour of teachers means number of hours teachers spend teaching in different schools, right? So how teachers work is they teach only, na? So we are going to write working hours of teachers in different schools. There it is written in different schools, and I have written in primary, lower secondary and higher secondary schools. Means I have named the schools, that which type of schools. To lengthen my intro, if I would write same as here it is given in statement, my intro would be too short. So to lengthen the introduction part, I have named the types of schools. So here in four different countries, in the statement there is written in four different countries. What I have written is in four distinct. Different means distinct, na? Means different. In four distinct nations. Countries को nations लिखा. Namely, which countries? Japan, Spain, Iceland and the United States of America. So one thing to keep in mind is to not use short forms or abbreviations in essays, in any task 1, anywhere. Do not write abbreviations. In the graph there is written USA, but what we have to write is the United States of America, or simply America, right? In the year 2001. You can write in the academic year 2001, whatever, as it suits. So now beginning the BP1. How to begin the BP1? You can use various connectors, the most common of which people use is to begin with. But to begin with does not secure you a good band score. So instead of using it, you can use as it is presented, comma, or as is presented. You can omit the it. It doesn't make any difference. Both of these are the correct ones. So what we have to do in task 1 is just to represent our data as it is given in the bar graph or in the line graph, but with variations while making comparisons. Which type of comparison? You can make comparison on the basis of type of school. Like you can compare primary with lower secondary, primary with higher secondary, or lower secondary with higher secondary, as you wish. Or if you do not want to compare the schools, you can compare on the basis of different countries. choice is yours. You can do either of those methods, but you should be correct, sorry. And there should be a variation in sentences, in sentence form actually. So how to write it? The connector, as I said, as it is presented or as is presented, comma. A connector is always followed by a comma. Not always, but most of the time. If we are beginning a line with a connector, like also, if we are beginning the line with also, this is also a connector, comma after also. If we are using moreover, put a comma after it. Furthermore, put a comma after it. So most of the connectors are followed by a comma. As it is presented, comma. Now firstly we are going to give the data about Japan. In Japan, primary school teachers, simply I have written, this is a simple sentence. Primary school teachers spend 600 hours teaching. What are primary school teachers doing? Working hours. What are they doing? What work actually they do? They teach na. So primary school teachers spend 600 hours teaching. As you can see, the first yellow line depicts 600 hours. So I have written primary school teachers spent 600 hours teaching in 2001, which is, then I have made a comparison. Comparison with what? Comparison with the teachers of lower secondary school in Spain. So I have made comparison on the basis of countries, right? School is same, primary and primary, but there is a difference of countries, that is Japan and Spain. So I have made comparison on the basis of countries, which is slightly lower than, what is the number of hours in Spain? It is nearly 650, right? So 600 is slightly lower than 650, which is slightly lower than in Spain. No need to mention 650 about Spain. You can simply write it as it is slightly lower than. Then working hours of teachers. The earlier sentence, I had begun the sentence with in Japan, means the name of the country. Primary school teachers spend this number of hours working. Then I have used passive voice. First one sentence was in active voice. This one is in passive voice. Working hours of teachers in lower secondary schools in Japan and Spain in 2001. Firstly, I had written about primary schools. Now I am writing about lower secondary, right? Working hours of teachers in lower secondary schools in Japan and Spain in 2001 is approximately, if you are not able to remember the spelling of approximately, you can write nearly. In 2001 is approximately or nearly 650 and 700 hours respectively. The word respectively is to be used here. You ought to use this word. Why to use this? Because firstly you have named both of the countries, means Japan and Spain. Then you have written the working hours of teachers there, that is 650 and 700. What is the purpose of respectively? That the first country, the first number of hours is respective to that. The second country, then the second number of working hours is respective to the second country. So the third sentence has a great variation from the first two. A noticeable difference or a noticeable disparity, you can say. Difference is also called as disparity. A noticeable difference of 200 hours can be witnessed or can be seen. If you are not able to remember the spelling of witness, most of the students write wrong spelling. But if you are not able to remember the spellings, just write simple words. When you are doing a mistake in spelling, your band score will decrease. So a noticeable difference of 200 hours can be witnessed. Where it can be witnessed? In the working hours. Working hours of what? Of teachers in both the countries in 2001. Sorry, I just forget to mention here the school, the type of school. In upper secondary school. At last, write in upper secondary school. A noticeable difference of 200 hours can be witnessed in the working hours of teachers in both the countries in 2001 in upper secondary schools. Both the countries I have not mentioned the name of countries here because earlier in this BP I have just mentioned both the countries, that are Japan and Spain. So no need to mention it afterwards again and again. So beginning with the second body paragraph, that is BP2. How to begin it? Which connector to use? So the most commonly used connector here is moving towards the further representation. So to my knowledge, the most suitable connector here is this one only. So we are just going to mold it a bit. In place of further description, we are going to write the rest of the description. This means that a part of information is described in BP1 and the rest means the remaining part we are going to describe in BP2. So moving towards the rest of the description, comma, we had earlier explained about the schools in Japan and Spain. Now we are left with Iceland and the United States of America. So primary school teachers in Iceland and the United States of America, I mistakenly wrote here USA, spent nearly 580 and 750 hours respectively working in 2001. So done with primary schools. Now come lower secondary. A difference of 400 hours. In the BP1 I had written a noticeable difference of this hours can be seen, can be witnessed, I had written. Here I will write a difference of 400 hours can be noted or it can be noticed in teaching hours of lower secondary schools, in teaching hour of teachers of lower secondary schools in the above mentioned countries in 2001. I didn't name the countries here. Why I did not name the countries here was it will cause repetition. So I omitted naming the countries. Instead I wrote in the above mentioned, because in the above written sentences I had named the countries. Here it is Iceland and USA. So I wrote above mentioned countries. Done with lower secondary, left with just upper secondary. Now teachers in Iceland, now I made a comparison here. Teachers in Iceland spent slightly more than 900 hours teaching, while in the USA the time devoted for the same means for what? For teaching was a little less than 1200 hours in 2001. As you can see in the graph, it is slightly less than 1200, it is slightly less than 1200 for red bar, that represents upper secondary in the USA. So now the last paragraph. What is the last paragraph about? It's just an overview about the whole bar graph or the graphical representation. How we begin it? Overall, comma. Simply write this connector. Stick to it. Do not use any other connectors because you will just forget all of them when you are in the exam hall. So just stick with one connector because you are just going to write one task there. So overall, comma, in primary and lower secondary schools of Iceland, the time devoted for teaching or time dedicated to teaching was the least. Now do not mention any numerical data in the last paragraph, that is in the overall. Just write fluctuations, the highest and the lowest, right? So next we are done with primary and lower secondary. Now upper secondary. What is highest there and what is lowest there? So working hours of teachers in upper secondary schools was the most. Where it was the most? In the United States of America. Do not write USA, write United States of America. And where it was the least? And the least in Japan in 2001. So these were all the variations, and now we are done with task 1 about bar graph or line graph. Line graphs are quite similar to bar graphs. They just show fluctuations. I think most of the time line graphs have a variation in the number of years. Like here only 1 year is given. In the line graph you might be given numerous years, such as from 2001 to 2010, maybe a decade, maybe half a decade, maybe 6 or 7 years. Whatever the task demands, you have to write about that. So books closed. Now just comment down if you have any doubt or I did some mistake here. You can comment that down. Or if you want me to do a particular task for you, a particular cue card or a particular essay, you can comment that too down. I'll do that for you. Or you can do you can message me, direct message me on Instagram. My ID is @Canada awaits you, similar as it is on YouTube, but that Canada and awaits, in between them there is only one A, not two. So follow that page on Instagram too, and like this video, share it to your fellow friends, those who need it or those who are doing IELTS right now. So do not forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon for more updates. Meet you soon with another video. Bye bye.